Good afternoon. According to time, it is 5:30. We have a quorum, and at this time, I'm going to call the school board meeting in order. And we will begin with Mr. Ferguson leading us in the pledges to the American and Texas Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas pledge is over here.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Dr. Pollard is going to lead us in a word of prayer.
Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for allowing us to gather here this evening to conduct some school business. And Lord, we want to ask for your guidance and help as we make decisions tonight and honor some very deserving students and staff members. And Lord, finally, we ask a special prayer for the little boy in Turnersville who passed away this past week. Lord, he wasn't one of our students, but it was sure a sad situation. We pray for his family, for comfort and support, and we pray for our students who have lost parents this semester or last year due to COVID. Lord, we pray for Joyce Rhodes, who we lost, and others that have passed away. Lord, we just ask for healing and guidance during this time of illness, and in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. This time, Dr. Pollard has a student spotlight we'd like to present or recognize.
Tonight we want to honor Kyla Hinojosa. Kyla's here tonight, and this is a neat story that I'll kind of give the background on. We got an email from a mother of a student from Georgetown, of all places, and I'm going to read this to you. It's really quite neat. She emailed Coach Kelly, and this is pertaining to the cross-country meet we had here in Gatesville. But this mother said, I attended the cross-country meet yesterday and met a lovely young woman that I wanted to bring to your attention, Kyla, who ran the varsity girls 2-mile race. My daughter is a member of the Meridian cross-country team where she's a junior. Shelby has always benefited from inclusion in her school. She has Down syndrome and is always the last runner to finish her races, usually well over 5 minutes after the next to last runner. But with the support and a not going to quit spirit, she just keeps on running. Yesterday I was near the entrance of the finishers exit where the trail comes out of the trees waiting for my daughter, and I observed a Gatesville female runner and her family appearing to be looking for a runner to come off the trail, which I thought to myself was odd because I knew that every other runner was in and my daughter was the only one still out there. Imagine my delight when as Shelby appeared, this lovely young woman who was looking for her encouraged her and ran with her to bring her to the finish. I approached this young woman later and her family after the race and thanked her for the wonderful display of caring and sportswomanship. I told her, I don't know if you know this, but she has Down syndrome and she's always the last one in. I didn't know her name at the time. I got her name later, but Kyla replied, my mom's a sped teacher here. It's such a wonderful act of kindness for Kyla and her family to show a perfect stranger from a different school whom they recognize as being different, but nonetheless worthy of love and support. So I wanted to make sure that you as her coach knows what an amazing woman you have on your cross-country team and hope you'll recognize her for her amazing character and heart for this random act of kindness, and will pass along my gratitude for her. Thank you, Kathy Thomas Castilla. So, Kyla, thank you so much for doing that. What a sweet, random act of kindness, caring. So we wanted to make sure we recognized you tonight and get you a certificate and your picture in the paper, hopefully. And we can't thank you enough. That's such a sweet thing to do. All right. Do you have any words for us? Speech. Kyla, we won't put you on the spot. Let's go over here and take a picture. All right. We'll stand for this right here. I had that effect on people.
And next we have the staff spotlight.
We've got 2 staff members we want to honor tonight. The first being Miss Angela Tyree. Angela is here, and she is our wonderful culinary arts teacher, and she works all the time. She never sleeps. Are you still moonlighting?
No, I'm still crying from her, please.
we first met Angela, she was working multiple jobs. She works all during the wee hours of the night. I asked her, when do you sleep? She says, I don't. She's got so much energy, and she has taken on that big job of teaching all the culinary arts students. And I wanted to recognize her especially because they do so many different special occasions where they've got to feed tons of people. And the last one, I guess, where she got tons of kudos for her and her students was the ISD Sports Hall of Fame banquet. And we had countless people come up and talk about how good the food was. And so I wanted to make sure that we recognize Ms. Tyree. She is always helping our military veterans as well. She loves to recognize them. She helps with the Veterans Day breakfast, the 4th of July breakfast, and so she has a real heart for our veterans too, which we really appreciate. So, Angela, we want to make sure we gave you a certificate and a Hornet. Our staff members get a Hornet as well. So, Angela, can you come on in?
Thank you.
Okay. This is the best part right here.
Okay.
It's gonna be in the post office.
And then our last but not least staff recognition is Brian Reeder. And Brian, speaking of hardworking, is another one of these staff members who's always here. Brian is in charge of tons of different activities after school. He's our lead custodian, which means he goes from campus to campus to campus, making sure that everything is working properly and going well. And whether it's a Friday night football game or if it's early the next day on some sort of community event in the auditorium, he's up here countless hours. He also doubles as one of our night watchmen. So again, one of these people that's up here all the time. And whenever we need something, we always go to Brian for help. He is extremely hardworking, great man, great honor, integrity, and we're sure glad to have him here. Brian, did you have any words to say?
Cowboys won.
Okay, good.
Hey, Dr. Garland, can I say something? I so appreciate him. I lost our cousin this weekend, and Brian was up after homecoming. He was up there at 8 o'clock and did a wonderful job. My family really wants to thank you for that.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Yes, Brian, very hardworking. Come on. Well, all you guys that did recognitions, we would love for you to stay for the meeting, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. You can leave at this point, sneak out. I know y'all had a long day. If you want to stay, you're more than welcome to stay for the meeting as well. So here's the awkward point where everybody leaves.
She took off work, so I got to get her back to work.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
To the public comments, I believe we do have
Yes.
speakers.
One, Ms. Heather Bouchon, if you want to come up, Mr. Alderson's going to read we always read the instructions, and then we'll let you have at it. Okay.
Okay. The board encourages comments from the district, from members of the public, anyone who has signed up to speak in advance of the meeting in accordance with board procedures may do so at this time. The board asks that each participant's comments pertain to district business and be no longer than 5 minutes. For any member of the public who is accompanied by a translator, your time will be doubled as required by law. Remember that board policy may not discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on the agenda. In addition, the board has adopted policies to provide prompt and equitable resolution of complaints and concerns for employees, students, or their parents, and the general public. Copies of our district policies and procedures on public comment and filing complaints are available at the Gatesville ISD office, which is here, 3011 South Lovers Lane, Gatesville, Texas. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I guess I'll introduce myself. It's Heather Bouchon. I'm a mother of 7 kids. My oldest is 24. The youngest is 16, fixing to be 17. So, I mean, we've been in Gatesville School District for a very, very long time. I know Mr. Ament very personal. We've had wonderful encounters when my kids were underneath him. I've known Mr. Pollard for many, many years. With the new renovations, they're great. I love them. I'll be the first one to say it. I mean, the school definitely needed it. I I just have issues with parking. I have kids who are dyslexia and they have a 504 plan. My last meeting, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, school rings at 7:55, right? I think. It's different. I got there a little bit early. You know, when you pull into that one parking lot right there by the front office, because everything else is either handicapped or reserved, you pull up and you're parking off the highway because kids are still coming in. And I've had 2 different teachers come to tell me we had to move, even though I was waiting for business at the school. I have a little problem with that. I mean, you know, we have disabled people, we have people with young children. I was specifically told, park on the street. That's not very safe for young children or somebody who is handicapped. I'm cold, sorry. We drove all the way from Kansas, so I'm cold. Then the second teacher who told me, he's like, pointed to a sign that was behind me, who said, this is staff parking. Where are parents supposed to park? I was told in the office it's the reserved. Well, reserved means it's for y'all or staff, the administration staff. No, apparently the teachers can find parking spots and park right there at the front door and not leave anything for the kids or parents or, students who come in to enroll. I just have, questions. Can we address that? And maybe, I'm all for staff parking and everything else, but nothing was reserved where I was parked. Nothing was marked saying, hey, it's designated a certain person. Maybe we could kind of address that later. I'm sure I'm not the only person who's had this problem. So I know that it won't be discussed right at the second, but I'd appreciate all the help. Like, I'm really cold.
We make it like that so people don't hate her.
Like, I was just cold the other night in Washington, Kansas. I'm not just
Heather, yes, duly noted. That's something we can fix.
Yeah, I mean, that was just, that just made, I could have been a visitor coming in, and that was not a good impression to have teachers just knock on your door and tell you, you need to move, this is my spot, as a community.
Right.
So I appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Heather.
Do we have any other?
None other signed up, so I think that's.
This is it. Okay, very good. Consent agenda. Is there any discussion on consent agenda? Do I have a motion that we accept it? Ms. Maxwell, second? Yeah.
Cheyenne.
Cheyenne, Miss Cheyenne. Golly, known you too long. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes. Okay. Information items.
All right, I think Ricky is here. Ricky, we tried to, athletics is such a moving target. We put some information down, and as soon as you put it down, it's old. There's already been updates from that. So, Ricky, tell us what all's going on with our fall sports.
It's even in 3 days. I think you've got a sheet in front of you. Just to kind of an update on the fall sports that are going on. Team tennis just finished up last Friday. They advanced to the area finals again. They lost to Burke Burnett, which is number 10 in the state. Our Coach Jones and his tennis team repeated as unbeaten district champions. This is their 4th straight year in the playoffs. They finished their season at 13-4, and they were ranked number 15 in Class 4A. And they'll have a great spring season coming up, which starts up in January. Cross country, the regional meet coming up Monday in Lubbock. We've got a boys team going as well as two girl entries. Our boys were second at the district meet. Our girls were 4th overall. Carlo Martinez, Vanya Martinez, a junior and sophomore freshman, brother and sister, won the individual races at the district meet. They've won a few individual titles this year. Football is 0-2. They're kind of lagging as far as they're just 2 games into the district race. They've lost to Salado and China Spring, the 2 top teams in there. They played at Robinson this week on the road. Volleyball is currently 28-7 overall. They were 4-2 in district. They were tied for 2nd place. They can clinch second place with the win Friday at Glen Rose, and they've already clinched the playoff spots. Coming up soon, girls basketball starts workouts Wednesday. Boys basketball a week from Wednesday, and wrestling starts on October 25th. So those 3 sports are getting up just around the corner. And probably the highlight of this whole sheet, the academic report for the first 9 weeks. And these are grades for student athletes in grades 9 through 12. Whether they're in season or out of season, everybody is accounted for. Our girl athletes, we had 151 total right now. We had 7 failures. On boy athletes, we had 238 total, only 14 failures. So out of 389 student athletes at GHS the first 9 weeks, our passing rate was 95%. And we're really excited about that. I want to compliment our coaches, our teachers, that they help monitor grades. They stay on kids. They do a great job with it. They're there to help those kids when they're struggling. So we had a 95% passing rate the first 9 weeks, and hope that just gets better and better.
Questions for Ricky?
I got one. How's our junior high football team doing?
Junior high football teams,
Yeah.
our 8th graders are 4-1, our 7th graders are 3-2 or 2-3.
Cool.
But both had 1 game canceled at Alvarado.
I got you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Anybody else?
It's amazing how Ricky knows off the top of his head. That's great, Ricky. I'm impressed.
All right. Thank you all
All
very
right,
much.
thank you, Ricky.
Thank y'all.
Fine arts update.
Mr. Sanchez is here. Fine Arts Coordinator. The band has been busy, but he's got updates on choir, theater, and band, so.
Yeah, it's been a busy month for all the fine arts. I would generally dress better than this, but I'm leaving straight to rehearsal after this. So overall, everything is moving very, very quickly and efficiently in the fine arts department. The art department specifically, the advanced art students had completed new paintings for the boardroom, so these new paintings are from the advanced art students. And so they're contributing all over the place. The students have also worked with Woodshop to complete painted pumpkins to be sold to the public. The students are now working on their UIL Visual Arts Scholastic event, creating original artwork for competitions, so they're gearing up for their own competitions as individuals. They are also coordinating with the Culinary Arts Department to make bowls for Foods for Family, where the Culinary Arts is going to be serving soup, and all those proceeds are going to be going to the Food for Family, so they're designing those bowls for that. Theater, the junior high has started a new drama club this year, so there's a new drama club in the junior high. Officer elections are currently underway. The drama clubs at both the high school and junior high have done their first fundraiser, so they're raising funds for like different things for UIL as well as like their productions. Actually, half the funds are actually going to the Graham family, which is going to be a big help. Some students are showing interest in creating an improvisation club, just kind of their own, so they're kind of really getting into their own ideas of like what theater is and developing their own like identities in that, and so they're going to be kind of morphing that together and talking a little bit more as the year goes on. The UIL Theory Design are meeting and working on their competition pieces, which are due in February. The design team consists of students who design their own interpretations of plays. So they have different plays that are given to them, and they have to have their own interpretation of it, and so it gives them the ability to be creative. This year's selection is Murder on the Orient Express. So that movie had come out a few years ago, and that's been a huge staple in cinema. The fall production of Dearly Beloved is underway with rehearsals. Their performance date is Friday, November 12th at 6:30 p.m. in the auditorium. If you love Southern comedy, this is the show for you. So they spend a lot of times up there, Tuesdays, Thursdays, I mean any chance they get, Saturdays, a lot, the theater program and the band program show a lot of students. So we do a lot of collaboration on just looking at our schedules and just kind of make everything work, because we want our students participating as much as they can. The choir, They had 2 students compete at Team EA Region. So Team EA all region auditions are designed to be pretty much a talent versus talent competition and preparation competition. So they prepare pieces of music and they go to a location, I believe there's say Belton High School, and they go into a room, and this is what we call blind auditions. So there are 5 judges, and there's generally choir directors, band has the same thing, and they are behind a screen and they just listen to the students perform. And they get ranked and given points based on their performance level. And so we had 2 students make the cut, they advance. Senior Addie Carpenter not only made the all-region choir, she also advances to the pre-area round by placing 3rd out of 64 altos. So she's pretty high up there. Freshman Memphis Wells also made the all-region choir, and he also advanced to the pre-area round by placing 6 out of 53 basses. And so the choir is showing a very strong presence in the Team EA process. The kids started this back in July by going to different camps over at Tarleton, just to kind of get them prepped and get them that one-on-one instruction or group instruction based on what they're doing. And they're on the quest to make the Team EA All-State choir. And so pretty much it takes small groups and then it grows it in increments to like larger areas of Texas. And so therefore you get more of a sampling of what the talent level is from here in Central Texas to the greater Central Texas all the way up into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so those things are happening. In the band department, we have been quite busy. We call October Bandtober just because we are up here a whole lot. The intermediate and junior high band programs are presenting their fall concert on October 26th with a combination of a baked potato dinner fundraiser. Dinner is set from 5 to 6:30 with their first performance at 6:30, which are with our intermediate students. This is the first time we're integrating our intermediate students because we know it's really important for parents to kind of hear what's going on instead of going like, what's that noise coming from the bedroom? And it's like, ooh. And so it just kind of gives them a better idea. Plus it gives them an opportunity to get, to have that fun. We allow the students to dress in their Halloween costumes as long as it's been approved by a band director. Because I know as a parent, like I'm a new dad. My kids are a year old, and my wife's like, how about this costume? And I'm like, that's $45 they're going to wear once. And so we want to make sure the kids get an opportunity to wear the costumes more than once, because I'm pretty sure all of you have gone like, was that worth the money? So the 8th grade actually participated in their first junior high pep rally. We decided to do that this year. Generally, we've concentrated on just concert style literature and things, but this year we decided to incorporate more school spirit and had them participate in the junior high pep rally this year. So that was something that we really enjoyed. The high school band has been hard at work. We hear all sorts of things. Like, oh, you're up there all the time. Yes, we are, because we expect greatness from our band program. On October 2nd, the marching band participated in 2 separate contests, and when I tell other band directors that, they were like, you guys are a little crazy. I'm like, well, yes. But we expect greatness from our kids. At the McGregor contest, we received superior ratings, and so that's the highest rating we can get. At the Midway contest, it's pretty much a head-to-head contest. You're scored based on brass performance, woodwind performance, percussion performance, and a full ensemble performance. And so there's 3 music judges and 3 marching judges. Everyone is very complimentary of our show and the product we're putting out on the field. The kids are working hard on it. In prelims, we finished 6th, and we're competing against 5As and 6As at this contest. And so there was like 26 bands, and in prelims we ended 6th, and so we had the right to move on to the finals level. And overall, we finished 5th, and only being beat out by Seguin, Coppers Cove, Harker Heights, and Red Oak High School, which are all from 5A and 6A programs. And so we ended up being the highest rated 4A program there. So we beat quite a few 6As and 5As. So that was really, really nice.
Some people you really wanted to beat.
Yeah, some we really wanted to beat. At the Whitney Marching Festival, we did this past week, 2 weekends ago, we finished 2nd overall. We won best in class, so we won our 4A division. Then we won Outstanding Color Guard of the Day, and there was 29 bands at this contest. And so we won Best Color Guard, and then we actually won the People's Choice for the People's favorite show. And so that was a big thing for us as well. We only lost by 0.1 points. And so that was kind of a heartbreaker. But we took it as a motivational. We use that as board material. And we showed the kids like, hey, you know, if y'all don't want to be beat by 0.1, that's all it takes. And so we need to make sure that we don't leave any doubt. You know, be happy with what we're doing, but don't be satisfied with the outcome. We are happy with the moment, but there's always more to fix. There's almost like more things to do and you know, opportunity to get better. Happy but not satisfied. And the other saying that the band kids have really kind of adopted this year is, you know, every day is a new day to be the best version of yourself. So every single rehearsal, we talk about being the best version of yourself through, you know, through academics, through grades, through, you know, just how they hold themselves in public, different things like that. And so we always ask the kids to be the best version of themselves. This past Saturday, the band earned a superior rating at the UIL Region 8 marching contest. That gives us the ability to advance to the next level, which is the Area D marching contest, and that's going to be held on October 30th at the Puff Field in Pflugerville. The way that works is this is a contest that determines whether we're eligible to be at the state marching contest. And the way that works is that they take one band per 5 bands. So if there are 25 bands, 5 bands will advance to state. If there's 29 bands, there's only 5 bands that go to state. So currently there are 29 bands that are eligible. There's still one more region contest that happens on Wednesday, so we're hoping at least one of them gets in. So that way 6 bands can advance to state. And it's the same idea. It's a prelims, finals. It's head-to-head all the way through. We compete against nothing but 4As. And, you know, from that point on, you know, if we make it to the night show, which is the big show, we'll find out where we stack against some of the best, you know, 4A programs in the state of Texas. So that's kind of the overall progress of the Fine Arts Department.
Jose gets other band directors to critique him, and he wants band directors that don't just say, oh, that was great. He wants them to give him constructive criticism, and he found some that did, and that has helped him too. So Jose puts in a lot of time and effort.
I think I've sent, between me and my staff, I think we sent over 100 emails to probably about 125 different band directors that are on the state level, like they judge state marching contests. One of the people I know is actually been invited to judge the state marching contest in Arizona and in Kentucky. And I sent her our videos, and you know, we want to be critiqued. We want to know what's wrong, and that's like the band director, I hate to say fault. It's really hard for us sometimes to celebrate what's great because we're always trying to find what to make better. So, you know, and we have to take that time to acknowledge the kids have really, really worked hard, and we've talked to them about it and how wonderful they are. You know, and we've been very lucky with the kids and the parents and just kind of the administration with how much support we were receiving.
How long have you been here?
Here?
Yeah.
This is the beginning of my 6th year.
Well, numbers keep going up on the participation.
Yeah, we're trying. You know, this COVID has been difficult in a lot of ways as far as like making sure kids are able to participate, give them that opportunity. Those are things that I think everyone is dealing with as far as like everyone fell into a sense of like nonchalance where they haven't wanted to participate. But now that we're getting back into that situation where they're seeing like we can be successful both in academics and like athletics and band and things like that, that people are becoming more aware of the way things used to be. And this has been fantastic, the whole entire band thing, and choir and art and theater, that we are able to give the kids some type of normalcy again.
You clearly have more kids this year than you did last year.
Now, last year was tough.
Yeah.
Last year was real tough, and that's been like the moving target. Is like last year we didn't know what kids were going to show up on what day, and this year it's like you can tell the kids are much happier because they're able to do these things. And these are some of the things that, like with choir, that make choir such a great experience, that make band such a great experience, that make art and theater such great experiences, because not only do they get to bond with each other, but they get to bond with other groupings of people. So like when we go to contests, the kids get to talk to other band kids, and they build relationships and they build these friendships, and that's something that brings that community really close together. And so that's something that, you know, for me as a high school student, like thinking back way back when, early 2000s, that was one of the things that I loved about band, is that I was able to build relationships with students from other things, and we had that common thread between each other.
Well, I have no artistic telling us I can't play the radio without getting static, but you're doing a heck of a job.
Thank you, I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. It's enjoyable to watch.
Seriously, I really, really appreciate it.
And he does all that with 1-year-old twins.
Yeah, that's it. Every day is an adventure.
Well, Jose, we appreciate you putting in lots of time and effort, but it's paying off.
We're trying real hard. So, and I wouldn't be able to do it if it wasn't also for the staff that puts in the hours with us. I mean, I have a wonderful staff, and I mean, I can't complain. You know, I spend more time with them than I do with my wife at this point. So it's just, you know, they're wonderful, and I can't complain about it.
Well, I correct you on one thing. You're not trying, you're doing.
So.
Good job.
Speaking of which, Jose, back to practice.
Yeah, no.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Dr. Pollard has the district updates.
This will be real brief. Regarding mainly COVID, you know, at a high point we had 120 cases, and we're doing really well right now. We only have 4, I think, as of today. And so, you know, and we've been around 4 or 5 student staff members for probably 2 or 3 weeks now. So it has really leveled off finally. But, you know, at its height, it was really tough because not only was you have 120 students out sick, 120 students and staff, but then others that were quarantined because maybe they had, you know, a brother sick, a sister sick. And so we're doing a lot better on that. But all that being said, it hurt us with absences. It had lots of, you know, one day we had close to, I put down there, 491 absences. And so you'll see in Daryl's charts, like in the consent agenda, it went from red to almost black. The attendance rate was so poor. But, I mean, people are sick. It's legitimate. And so we are lobbying with our state legislator to please encourage TEA to hold harmless on the ADA again. Because if they don't, we could run a deficit on our budget. And I feel like that all the districts around the state have suffered with absenteeism and things like that. But we, just to put it in perspective of how much worse it was this year as opposed to last year. Last year, altogether, we had 410 cases of COVID. This year, in basically 2 months, we had 410. Just like that. Now, we're hoping that it doesn't flare up again, but who knows? You know, it could come back in the winter, spring, we don't know. But we're hoping that that will not resurge like it did. As of September 24th, we'd already used 631 COVID leave days for our staff. So those staff members that were sick, the staff leave, it came in handy. They needed it because they were awfully ill. Other non-COVID things, we've got some good things happening. Wanted to make a quick blurb. Jeff Willie, who's been working with our district, Calvin knows since childhood. Jeff's a retired military man who's also a professor, and he's a very articulate speaker. He's with the Maxwell Leadership Group, and he is offering a free half a day with our students in intermediate, junior high, and high school to talk about bullying. And so he's going to be here on the 25th to talk to them. And then the other big thing we're working on, of course, is gearing up for Veterans Day. So we always have our big Veterans Day extravaganza at the field, and so that will be November 11th, and we're excited about honoring our servicemen and women that day. Did y'all have any questions about the district updates?
No, he is with this anti-bullying. I spoke to him, and he is encouraging if anyone wanted to come out.
And I think, Calvin, you're going to help him, aren't you? Are you speaking that day?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be speaking. Yeah, right. No, I'll be there.
You'll be there for moral support. Okay.
Moral support.
Okay. All righty.
That it?
I guess that's it.
Okay. Mr. Webb has the beginning of year reading and math inventory scores.
Fun stuff, huh? Good evening. You guys doing all right? You know, last year we took a little bit of a pause in being able to get some of these inventories, you know, with the guided reading and things like that, being able to get kids in groups and close contact with teachers. But you know, we made the decision this year that it's time to get back on track and know where our kids are performing. So Some of these are a little different. You know, we used to do the BAS K through 8, which is the reading level assessment, but TEA has some different things, requirements that we must start doing. And so we decided, instead of giving multiple assessments, that we were going to go with just one, instead of just testing students all the time. So in kindergarten, their assessment's called the TEX-KIA, it's the Texas Kindergarten Entry Assessment, and they have it for reading and math. It's just a kindergarten readiness assessment. And so you can see there the reading, it covers blending, decoding, letter sounds, listening, comprehension, and then we give the overall score, and you can kind of see where they fall on track, monitored, or needing support. And we felt that if a kid needed support in any of those 4 areas, then overall they would need support, because those are pretty foundational skills that they need. And you can kind of see where they are beginning of the year, math-wise, as being on track, monitoring, or needing support. You can see a lot of our kids need additional support. They're not quite coming into kindergarten where we would like for them to be. So we have lots of work ahead of us.
We theorized that some of this is due in part to COVID. You know, here are 5-year-olds who probably didn't do as much preschooling as they could have because of fear of COVID, or preschools being shut down, and so that's unfortunate.
First grade, there's another type of assessment that you got to have, and we actually have some choices with this one, but you don't have very many choices. The choices are very limited. And the assessment that we went with for first grade is called the Texas Primary Reading Inventory. And so you can kind of look at that and see what the first grade reading inventory tests for. And so you can kind of see where our kids are performing there. 47% are still developing, and 53% are developed. And so still probably lagging behind where they should be due to COVID. But the TIMI, the next one here is the Texas Early Mathematics Inventory. Kind of lets you know where the kids are performing math-wise, and that one looks a little bit better. So the majority of our kids are at least at the average range to very superior, and a very small percentage of them are below average to very poor scores.
And do you have state score averages?
Not on this, not
How
on
we
these,
compare?
not on these. No, sir. We won't have any kind of state scores until we get to STAR.
Okay.
Until we get to the actual state
So we
required.
really don't know how we
assessments.
stack up across the state.
No, sir. Not on these assessments. And then second grade, same thing. The TPRI, the Primary Reading Inventory, and you can see that one tests for some different elements as opposed to the first grade, but it's looking at more fluency, reading comprehension, and you can kind of see where the kids are performing there. Second graders are actually struggling a little bit more than first graders at this point. And so those guys have had their kindergarten and their first grade year disrupted by COVID. And so those guys have got a bigger gap to overcome. We've got to continue to work on. And you can kind of see where their math is also on the TIMI, a little bit bigger than kindergarten as well, but doesn't look too bad. And then we get here into the third grade reading, where we go to the benchmark assessment, where the teachers will read with kids on different books, and then they'll kind of get scored based on how they're performing with their fluency, reading comprehension, and things like that. But you can see about 38% of our third graders are reading below level, 13 of them approaching. That means they're one letter below where they should be. About 10% of them are on level, and 40% of them are above level. And then you get to fourth grade, starts getting a little bit bigger. We have about 45% that are reading below grade level. Actually 54%, but that you have about 9% that's just one letter away. Fifth grade, it grows a little bit more. 47% and 12 there, so close to 60%. And then sixth grade gets a little bit better, and we're about 46%, but 10% of those kids are just one letter away. And then you have 7th grade there. We did not test everyone in 7th grade because most of them should be close to exiting out or exiting to where they need to be. So these are just kids that did not meet the STAR test. And so this is why this graph looks worse than all the others. And so you can see that these kids have some work to go. And then the same way with 8th grade, these are just for students that did not meet the passing standard on the STAR test. And so we did not test or give everyone the benchmark assessment in 7th and 8th grade. And then went ahead and added in this benchmark data. High school's been really working on some EOC type assessments just to kind of gauge where their kids are right now. And so you see English 1, 1A and 1B, that's 2 different charts. It's because they did 2 different assessments. One was revised in editing, and the other one was in reading comprehension. And this is kind of, if they were to take a STAR test, this is kind of where they would perform. And this is only on content that's been covered up to this point, correct, Ms. Barrows?
Correct.
Only
Yes, sir.
content that's been covered up to this point. So you can kind of see how the high school kids are performing in those areas. Then you have Algebra 1. And those are different skills on the 1A and the 1B. So 1B was a little better than 1A. And then English 2, the same thing. You had revised it in editing and then reading comprehension. And then we did biology, and you can see biology. Biology looks very, very, very good. Biology's always looked very good for us. And then U.S. history looks really, really good as well, which that's always been one that's we've always performed well in as well. So, and then the last one, I forgot this other one, is 3rd grade math. This is something we're piloting this year. Math is a projected STAR proficiency, so it tests the student up to this point in the school year, and it kind of projects how they will perform on the STAR test. And so you can kind of measure their growth from beginning of the year to the middle of the year to the end of the year. And so we started it off with 3rd grade. This is actually 3rd grade math. And so you have about 36% right now of 3rd grade math who is projected that will not meet on the STAR. You have about 43% that's projected to approach, about 14% that's projected to meet, and about 7% that's projected to master. That's up to this point. And then so we'll give all of these assessments will come back around in January, and then they'll come back again at the end of the year. So it's just kind of a snapshot, kind of where we are as a district up to this point.
What do you attribute the greater success in biology and history to over all the other areas?
It's hard to say. I think they're kind of stand alone. You either know it or you don't. I don't know, Ms. Barrows, do you have any thoughts on that? It's hard to say. I mean, it's your U.S. history, your 1877 to present. You know, it's what you're learning.
Yes.
You know, reading is you have writing that's involved in it. You're revising and editing, reading comprehension. You know, math is, you know, you got to be able to read a problem and figure out all the steps. It's just,
Jimmy, I didn't understand your question.
Well,
why is biology and U.S. history performing better than reading and
no,
math?
not just performing better,
Yeah.
but substantially so.
I think a lot of it has to do with the actual application of the knowledge and the problem solving, which is required for both math and English 1 and 2, whereas the rest of it is information that you're learning about, and a lot of kids are interested in it. They're not having to build something out of it. And so that application comes from a deeper level of knowledge, and that's what we're working on. So I'll talk about that in a little bit, I guess.
All right.
Yeah. So.
Just kind of curious.
Yeah.
Knocking it out of the park.
And that's when you look at the state, it's typically those two perform better than the others as well. You know, it's just
The beginning of your reading data is usually kind of gloomy. There's a summer slide, but this year, in talking to the teachers, you know, this year is actually more stressful than last year. We thought it was going to be more normal, which in a sense it is, but if you talk to teachers, it's more stressful because they're playing catch up. So many of them are behind because last year was just so different. And oftentimes, not all, because we had some remote students who did well, took care of their business, but many that did do remote learning are behind because it's just not the same, or they didn't attend to it as much as they should have. And so they're just playing catch up, and it's tough, it's difficult.
So overall, these scores at this point in time, compared to the same scores a year ago, were better or worse or the
We don't
same?
have scores to a year ago. We did not give these
We didn't do
assessments.
this, okay.
Yeah, we did not give these assessments last year. Now we have in years past, but last year we did
Last
not.
year was a COVID deal.
Because the parents, there was so much hesitancy, we didn't even know if we could get 20% of the kids up here that were remote.
And we had so many kids at home, and still to do some of these, you still got to have support. Teachers may need a day or two to be able to get some of these, and finding help right now and getting in classrooms substitutes is really difficult. So
I understand.
you know.
So next year we'll be able to compare these to,
Well, we'll compare at the middle of the year. We'll compare the results from where we are right now to where we are at the middle of the year, and we'll do the same thing.
good, that's good.
Refresh my memory, what all is tested in TPRI? Fluency?
Yeah, I have it. I have it broken down. Which grade are you want? First grade.
No, I don't really, just is it ability to
Yeah, it's
high level thinking skills,
yeah,
or is it fluency, or?
Yeah, first grade's fluency, spelling, reading comprehension.
Okay.
It's more basic reading, Mr. Raymond. First grade really breaks it down into different phonological pieces.
Okay.
And second grade moves up a little bit into some comprehension stuff, but it's more your basic ability to read.
It's a read aloud also?
Some of second grade has some passages that they read, and if they're not able to, they do it as listening comprehension. First
It's a
grade.
great test, you really get to know your learners.
And you remember how we spent that money on phonics? Came
Yes.
to you in the summer. We've been getting some really good feedback on the phonics. Some are saying it's been a real game changer, and they can
Especially
see,
after all we've been through.
and they can see the kids actually using it daily in their work.
Just as long as it doesn't become the curriculum.
It's not that. So, but we're doing really good with it. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Okay, we're to dissemination of framework for governance leadership. And unfortunately, I have this to read.
No, it should
whether
be
I-
an annual announcement.
Huh?
It should be an annual announcement, correct?
I think you skipped one, Mr. Alderson. Annual announcement of board training. It's AE. That one's a little bit
You're not
short.
gonna get past her on that one.
Yeah.
See, here's my ignorance. I thought that's what this was. Okay, so what are we, annual announcement of board training? So what do I do there?
Tara, do you have the results?
Yes, I showed him.
Isn't
You're
that
just
it
gonna
right
read,
here?
yes,
Okay, and that's what I'm supposed to read?
yes, sir.
Okay,
All of that.
okay. Okay, under State Board of Education rule, completing required continuing education each year of service is a basic obligation and expectation of any sitting board member. As board vice president, I am required to announce the name of each member who has completed the required continuing education, has exceeded the required continuing education, and is deficient in meeting the required continuing education. The requirements for training are measured as of the first anniversary of the date of the trustee's election or appointment or 2-year anniversary of his or her previous training as applicable. There are 7 training areas for board member continuing education. 1, local district orientation. 2, orientation to the Texas Education Code. 3, post-legislative update to the Texas Education Code. 4, team building. 5, additional continuing education. 6, evaluating student academic performance and setting goals. 7, identifying and reporting abuse, trafficking, and other maltreatment of children. To the extent of boy, if it's over 2 syllables, I'm in trouble. applicable to each board member, I will announce the completion or deficiency as to required training. For members who still have time remaining to complete required training, I will announce those board members who have scheduled timely training and those who have not yet scheduled training. At the conclusion of this announcement, I will announce any board members' training in excess of the continuing education requirements. 2020 Local District Orientation. The following board members have completed local district orientation training. And it said Brenda Barham. Orientation to the Texas Education Code. The following first-year board members have completed the orientation to the Texas Education Code training. And again, Brenda Barham. Post-legislative update to the Texas Education Code. No new board members were required to complete post-legislative update to the Texas Education Code training with the time period covered by this announcement. Team building. The following board members are deficient in meeting the required annual team building training. Charles Alderson, Brenda Baum, Rob Irwin, David Fincher, Cheyenne Kaiser, Mary Ann Lee, and Linda Maxwell. Congratulations.
You will now be summarily beaten.
Yeah, well, I will like to add they didn't offer that last year because of COVID. The following board members have completed the additional continuing education requirements. Charles Alderson, Brenda Byram, David Fincher, Cheyenne Kaiser, Mary Ann Lee, and Linda Maxwell. The following board members are deficient in meeting the additional continuing education requirements. Rob Irwin. Evaluating student academic performance and setting goals. The following board members have completed biennial training on evaluating student academic performance and setting goals. Charles Alderson, Brenda Byram, Rob Irwin, David Fincher, Cheyenne Kaiser, Mary Ann Lieb, and Linda Maxwell. Identifying and reporting abuse, trafficking, and other maltreatment of children. The following board members have completed the biennial training on identifying and reporting abuse and trafficking. Charles Alderson, Brenda Byram, Rob Irwin, David Fincher, Cheyenne Kaiser, Mary Ann Lieb, and Linda Maxwell. Exceeding required continuing education. Board member Charles Alderson exceeded the required amount of continuing education by training 1 additional hour.
Where you going, Charles?
Board member Brenda Byram exceeded the required amount of continuing education training by 4 additional hours. And board member Cheyenne Kaiser exceeded the required amount of continuing education training by 0.25.
That's right.
Okay, a little more current. 2021 Local District Orientation. The following first-year board members have completed local district orientation training. Charles Ament, Jimmy Ferguson, and Calvin Ford. Orientation to the Texas Education Code. The following first-year board members have completed the orientation to the Texas Education Code training. Charles Ament, Jimmy Ferguson, and Calvin Ford. Post-legislative update to the Texas Education Code. The following board members have completed post-legislative update to the Texas Education Code training. Mary Ann Lieb, Calvin Ford, Charles Alderson, Charles Ament, Jimmy Ferguson, Cheyenne Kaiser, and Linda Maxwell. Team building. The following board members have completed the annual team building training. Charles Alderson, Charles Ament, Jimmy Ferguson, Calvin Ford, Cheyenne Kaiser, Mary Ann Lieb, and Linda Maxwell. Additional continuing education. The following board members have completed the additional continuing education requirement. Charles Alderson, Charles Ament, Jimmy Ferguson, Calvin Ford, Cheyenne Kaiser, Mary Ann Lieb, and Linda Maxwell. Evaluating student academic performance and setting goals. The following board members have completed the biennial training on evaluating student academic performance and setting goals. Charles Alderson, Charles Ament, Jimmy Ferguson, Calvin Ford, Cheyenne Kaiser, Mary Ann Lieb, and Linda Maxwell. identifying and reporting abuse, trafficking, and other maltreatment of children. The following board members have completed the biennial training on identifying and reporting abuse and trafficking: Charles Ament, Jimmy Ferguson, and Calvin Ford. Exceeding required continuing education. Board member Charles Alderson exceeded the required amount of continuing education training by 1.75 additional hours. Board member Charles Ament exceeded the required amount of continuing education training by 0.50 additional hours. Board member Jimmy Ferguson exceeded the required amount of continuing education training by 0.25 additional hours. And board member Calvin Ford exceeded the required amount of continuing education training by 0.25 additional hours.
Charles, thank you for reading that.
Yeah.
That was torture.
I would agree. Maybe I didn't put you to sleep or bore you too much.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's one of those compliance things that they make us do. So, Charles, thank you for doing that.
Yeah. Okay.
Now it's the dissemination.
Now, are we doing this? Isn't that what this is?
Uh-huh.
Are we reading this also?
No.
Okay.
Last meeting, Tara even researched the last meeting we had, and we did not read the whole thing. So I think that you guys are adults. Y'all can go back in the packet and read over the framework. Very few changes from year to year, so you guys take care of that on your own. So
Thank you. Okay. Presentation, discussion, action items. Final approval of budgeted new bus purchase. Dr. Sanderson.
Normally it's Mr. Webb asking for money, but I have to do so tonight.
Good call.
I'm not sure of the exact year, but 3 or 4 years ago, you guys adopted a plan to the GISD fleet replacement plan. Instead of having to buy a bunch of new buses every 10 years, we were going to purchase at least one bus every year as part of this replacement plan. And this plan calls for the purchase of one large bus this year. The plan for the purchase is included in the current budget. And after evaluating our current needs, we're requesting approval to purchase one 71 passenger bus. And the total purchase price is $108,153. A detailed quote is included in your packet. And that's about $12,000 more than it was last year. Things just, everyone's using inflation as an excuse, whether it's real or not. The price has gone up. And Transportation Director Chris Rainey is here if you have any specific questions about the bus. I can't answer the mechanical parts of it, but he can.
Does it have air conditioning?
Yes, sir.
I didn't see it on here.
What type of bus is it?
Yeah.
The company?
We'd like to go with the International.
Yeah.
And it's a 77 passenger bus. It would be about 8 months out if we went with 71 or 2. So to have a few extra seats in there, we can get it, and it's no extra cost. They're the same price.
Cool.
They do come with air conditioning.
Okay.
Overall, where are we in our fleet? Putting buses on the routes.
Yeah, we're still running buses with well over 200,000 miles. About 3/4 of our buses that are on route have air conditioner right now, and the rest didn't even come with air conditioner. We'd like to get at least all of our long routes with air conditioned buses, a little bit less mileage when they're going out so far, especially lately with the coverage that we've had. I'm driving, and my mechanic doesn't have a license yet, but he's working on it, and as soon as he gets it, he'll probably end up driving around too. So if we can have our good buses going out in the furthest routes, we wouldn't have to worry as much about one breaking down. So it's always nice to have these newer ones. That, over time, seats deteriorate and suspension components. And so diesels last forever, but other parts and pieces, they break down over time. So.
Realistically, how many buses would we need to say get the fleet up really current?
I'd say at least 5 or 6 would be nice.
That's why it's good to always budget one every year.
Sure.
Because and 5 or 6 years from now, once we have those accumulated, there'll be others that are,
Others, you notice are getting more expensive.
yeah.
They started out at 90,000.
Yeah.
Is there, this may seem like an off-the-wall question, but that's okay, because I'm off the wall anyway, so. But is there any pressure from the state or the federal government to go towards green buses?
Not that I've heard. There are some that are going propane. I don't think they've worked all the kinks out of the electric ones yet. Thomas is running a few electric buses, but I don't think the efficiency of how much the batteries cost and all that stuff, and how long the batteries last, it's kind of defeats the purpose to me. But
That's kind of why I was asking. We got this 10-year plan. Well, they keep talking about in 2030, they're going to be,
right.
some of the manufacturers of vehicles are going to be 40% green and all that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's coming.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything.
That's good.
Yeah. All of the new school buses have seat belts. That's one thing that got passed a few years back. So any bus that we're getting now, part of the cost rising is seat belts, and then a lot of it they're blaming on COVID-related issues.
You saw I brought Chris here tonight.
Yeah.
Much better talking about it than I am. And if you remember, we talked about as part of our ESSER funds, purchasing buses with that. TEA and the U.S. Department of Education kind of put the brakes on that a little bit, so we're letting some other districts move forward and see what happens to them before we decide to take that. And that's a 3-year grant, so we still have those funds.
From the time of ordering, how long is it going to take to get the bus in?
According to the international salesman, it would be 4 months, I think, is what he said on this one. So they have it at the yard. If we held off too long, he said 8 months. So.
Okay.
Any other questions?
That's a good segue for you guys.
Yeah, it's my recommendation to approve the purchase of the 1 new school bus in alignment with the ISD fleet replacement plan.
Okay, we have a recommendation. Do we have a motion? Okay, Mr. Ford, second. Mr. Ferguson, any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Sanderson.
Thank you,
Dr.
Mr.
Sanderson.
Rainey.
Thank you,
You
guys.
don't have to stick around now.
All right.
Unless you just want to.
All
All right, district and campus improvement plans, again, Dr. Sanderson.
Yeah. Another thing each year, a recurring action item that we have is each campus and the district must submit improvement plans for board approval. These plans have been made with a program called Plan for Learning, and we've used this platform for the last 3 years. This platform helps us ensure compliance with requirements that are addressed in each of the documents. So it's got a checklist that we have to follow to keep us in compliance. These are compliance documents. These plans are designed to serve as guiding documents for campuses in the district. They address campus and district goals, current needs, strategies to address these needs. The plans also include a summary of the faculty paid with federal funds. That is one of the compliance pieces that we have to meet. The campus and district plans are working documents, and they can and often are updated due to the needs of the campus and district as those needs become apparent even after approval tonight. So they are working documents. And as far as the district is concerned, we didn't make any major changes to any of the plans. We kind of updated our needs assessment to make it more relevant to this year with after the changes from last year and the COVID challenges that we're facing. But as a kind of an overarching theme, we updated the mission to doing what's best for kids, and then we kind of have these bullet points that are our guiding principles. Our students are going to graduate college, career, and military ready. They're going to be critical thinkers and problem solvers, effective communicators, servant leaders, contributing members of society, and technologically literate. And then we have our core beliefs listed in the district plan as well. And what I'll have this time, I'll have the campuses come up and talk a little bit about what their specific campus plan is individually, and then we'll address any questions that you might have. So, Ms. Streeter, you want to go first? We'll start youngest, oldest.
We'll start with you. Good evening. So like he was saying, our campus goals are aligned with the district goals. There's 5 goals. But at primary, it's a little different. We understand the importance of providing a good foundation and solid foundation for our students. So we want to build a strong academic and social and emotional foundation for them to ensure that student success. Like they were saying with COVID, you know, it did change. Many of our students that we have, especially we've been trying to build our pre-K program. This year we're sitting at about 75 kids, whereas last year we were at about 60, 63. But a lot of our kids have not been anywhere. They did not attend daycare or any kind of preschool programs, and so you know, we're really seeing that in the classroom where they're lacking just some basic social skills and some communication skills, and so many of them struggle with self-regulating their emotions. So our teachers have been really working hard to build relationships. Our counselor has been providing some guidance lessons. We really stress the importance of building a strong relationship with those kids. Also this year, because of House Bill 3, our staff is going through the Reading Academies, which is teaching the science of reading. That really stresses the importance of a very strong phonological awareness foundation. Our new curriculums with the Hegarty and the foundations are really supporting the Reading Academies, and our teachers do love doing that. So every day we're starting out with teaching, you know, they go through a set of activities from rhyming and then stressing beginning sounds, ending sounds, building words. So it's been really a good program. And then of course we focus on guided reading, writing, conferring with writers. That's part of everyday classroom instruction. A couple of things that we have added to our campus plan this year. We have the extra phonics support and interventions. Classes, our kindergarten classes attend literacy lab 1 time a week. That's an hour lab where they're getting that extra support on phonics. So they go either to the library or they go to our motor lab. Our rotation teachers are helping with that, and so they're working on those phonics skills when they go to the literacy lab. Our students also receive win time. That's what I need. They get that 30 minutes every day. We have a reading intervention who is seeing small groups of students every day. She sees them 30 minutes for additional support. So we have a lot of that built into our day to try to help fill some of the gaps, strengthen some of those skills that they're lacking, so that they'll have a good, strong foundation, which will predict and build a strong reading, you know, success in the future for them.
Any questions?
That is that's just a summary.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Keegan?
How are y'all? So our campus plan this year, we really focused kind of on the district goal of going back to the basics. Like Ms. Streeter kind of touched on, I saw a graphic more towards the beginning of the year that talked about our 3rd graders, their last normal year of education was kindergarten, and our 1st and 2nd graders have never had one. That was not affected by COVID, and so I think it caught us a little off guard this year when we came back that our students were, as if we expected more normalcy in this year than what we had, and so it has been a difficult year for our teachers and students, because you have so many years that were disrupted. And so for us, it's going back on, you know, we can't control that. We can't change that. We can't change where they're coming to us at, but we can, we do have control over what we're giving them. And so, you know, our mission statement at elementary is every child counts and every moment matters. So for us, it's a focus on every single moment and how we're spending those to help support our kiddos. So first, starting with attendance and getting our kiddos regularly at school, because that's been a tremendous struggle.
last year, but even more so this year, as hard as we were hit. That is getting much, much better. So attendance of our kids, and we have an attendance improvement committee that works on positive incentives. We can't control when a kiddo's sick. They have to be out, and that's a significant learning loss, but what we're providing to them when they're at home. But also our teachers, because our teachers were hit very hard at the beginning of the year too. So having our teachers there consistently, because that matters in our kids' instruction. Our second big focus is our intervention. So we have an hour built in each day of intervention, and that's where we're really able to target our instruction to our kiddos, because we have learning loss, we have gaps, we have kiddos that have never been to in-person school or haven't been to in-person school in a year and a half. So we really strive to meet them where they're at. So during our hour intervention block, each grade level has that. Our kiddos are going all over the building. So every kid is going somewhere. For some kids, it's enrichment because I need to be challenged. Our library helps support that. But we also have tier 3 interventionists for reading and math that pool, but also our teachers. So I may be a second grade teacher and I'm getting a group of kids from 5 different other classrooms because they need to work on phonics instruction or basic math skills, whereas this group needs just reinforcement on inferencing that we taught this week. So we really target that intervention based on our common assessments, and we use that to drive those interventions. So we really are striving to meet our kiddos where they're at and help build those gaps. And then our third piece that's really important this year is our phonics. We are also going through reading academies. For us this year, it's first grade. And then our administration and our reading intervention teams are going through reading academies. And that's a pretty significant undertaking. So our teachers are doing a lot of hours on those reading academies in the next year, second and third. But something really encouraging to see through those reading academies is how much there is a focus on phonics. And we are absolutely on the right track with the things that we've implemented with those new programs. That it's not just phonics, but how important that systematic explicit phonics instruction is. And we're seeing some really amazing things from that. When kids can say, oh, that's a vowel blend, or oh, that's that R controlled vowel we studied, or that's it. They're identifying that's a digraph. They're able to name those things, and that's really encouraging to us that we're on the right track. So those are big focuses for us at elementary, and just really meeting our kids where they're at and filling in those gaps. Do you have any questions for me?
It's just a tough year.
It is, but I mean, our kiddos are troopers and our teachers are too.
Well,
I mean, they're incredible, and they've come in, and there have been hard days and there are challenges, but they also rise to meet them, and then they shake it off and they say, okay, this is what I can control, and I'm gonna do everything I can with that. So I'm incredibly proud of them too. Thank you.
Thank you.
hard work.
Bridget?
Good evening. How are you guys? All right, so I'm going to probably say several of the same things that you've already heard. But I mean, we really did try to reiterate getting back to the basics simply because we have not had anything normal for the last year and a half. And so some of the things that we talked a lot about were being present, doing the work, and being a good human. And for our age group especially, you think about they haven't been present to actually do the work, and then we don't have the socialization for them to be the good human. So we're really kind of trying to encompass all of those gaps. And again, it starts, we say that it starts at home, but sometimes they don't even have that. So we have to build as much in as possible. So this year has been kind of a learning experience. I do have 2 new assistant principals over there that I'm thrilled to have, and they have just kind of taken on some activities that we kind of didn't necessarily have the opportunity to do in the past. So when we're talking about safety, discipline, and attendance, we've reincorporated what we call our Hornet Club. And so, those kiddos who maybe don't feel successful academically, they can be successful as far as doing the right thing when no one is looking, or making the right choices and stuff. And so we try and reiterate that for our kids to feel success, because if they're feeling successful, it motivates them to do better. And that just is all encompassing. So we really want to try and build on the kiddos' self-esteem, especially in that department. Other things that we talked about is, we're working on our teachers just to build a strong curriculum that everyone is pretty much on the same page. And so we're really working on unit planning and what is most important, and really delving into the TEKs, and not, pulling things from like teacher pay teacher just because it's cute. trying to build that foundational understanding for our kids. In addition to our 6th graders now, we're pretty much one-to-one, so they are able to use our technology. And I think that really builds, that strong understanding of how to earlier on. And so we're working on 4th and 5th grade as well, just to get that technology working for them. Other things, like I said, the part about doing the work, our kids are building their responsibilities, not just as far as showing up to the classroom, making sure that they have their supplies, getting on their right page and everything. But when we're talking about being a good human, we've really tried to incorporate that on just about every level. So in the mornings, we have announcements and we talk about a theme. So for the first 9 weeks, we talked about responsibility and respect. The second 9 weeks, we're working on just different types of safety. And so, we make it a point to give them something that is kind of thought-provoking each day so that they can actually have that conversation in class. Our 6th grade team has really been phenomenal as far as they're doing what they're calling Pep Assemblies in the morning time, and so they have these conversations. And, trying to teach them more as young adults than children. And that's kind of one of those things, especially at the intermediate school. 4th and 5th graders, they're still little and, that kind of thing. And you kind of have this big separation between 4 and 5 and then they're 6. So again, we're working on that, but I have to stress the character lessons and that type of thing, we're really building on that. Not to say that, all the other is not important, because, we're working on BAS, getting their levels built up, making sure that our new groups, once we've got our testing done, which you guys saw the results on, we are behind. We know that. How are we going to build and bring them up to snuff? And so, we're working on that with our interventionists. We have win time. What I need time is 45 minutes a day. And so, we're being able to utilize and pull these kids if some of our kiddos are just, weak in math. So we're able to pull through math intervention. Same thing with our reading, so we're able to pull through LLI or just small group instruction within the classroom. So we're really trying to focus in on just the needs of our kiddos. Yeah. So just getting back to the basics.
Sounds good.
Thanks. Thank you.
Susie?
All right. We're not doing as much with phonics as you've already heard with the others. We're doing we're taking a different approach. Ours is about building relationships with our kids. In junior high, in the past year and a half, truth be told, a whole lot of our students have really had the choice of whether or not they're even active students, whether they were remote learners or, unfortunately, last year they would sometimes come in person and they get mom to convince to go remote for a while, and it really was kind of at the whim of the kids. So we decided that one way to combat that is we're going to have to build relationships, build relationships, build relationships. And our reasoning for that has many reasons, prongs that address many issues. The biggest thing is kids want to go where they matter. And if they matter to somebody at school, they're willing to go to that place and be. That's all they want. They want to matter to someone. And so if they go to school, then that's improving our perfect attendance. And if they go into school and they're doing perfect attendance, then they're more likely to get into class, and if you have a good relationship with your student, they're more likely to give just a little bit more effort during that lesson, even when the learning's a little bit hard. And the other thing about building relationships is, and I hate to use a little bit of slang to describe it, but it's the best way to describe it, is that for a kid, it's kind of hard to be a jerk to an adult who's good to you. Not saying it's going to get rid of all discipline problems, but if they act out, majority of the time the kids are like, I kind of really feel bad about doing that. And they're pretty quick to either get back on track or to want to reset and go back. And I can't tell you the number of kids that go back and apologize and see if they can try to make it right with the teacher. So we don't expect perfection, but we also know that it helps the kids. Well, gosh, I matter to them, and I was pretty rude and disrespectful. I need to go fix that. So having that in mind, when we get kids into the schools, we said seize every opportunity. Every opportunity counts as building relationships.
In the hallways during passing periods, you're in the hallways, you're talking to kids. Quick incidental. Hey, how'd you play last night? Hey, I heard you did really well in math. You know what? Your social studies teacher was bragging on you. Tell me about that. We also talk about the 2x10 strategy. And what that is giving 2 minutes a day for 10 days in a row to your most challenging student, academically or behaviorally. And so it's really 120 seconds, 10 days in a row, and you go and you seek out that student on their terms, not on your terms, not in a lesson. So you pop in at a lunch, you catch them before school, you catch them after school, you catch them after a ball game, wherever you can. And it's 120 seconds of talking to that student about whatever they want to talk about. Not about school. It can be about, they went hunting this past weekend. It can be something about they caught a great big fish. Who knows what it is. And truly just devoting your time and attention to that kid as a person. And that will help build relationships. The other thing is, honestly, in that strategy, I got to tell you, our teachers are using it and they're finding success. Because, you think, 2 minutes, 10 days in a row, that seems so, tiny. But it really is a lot for a teacher when it comes down to it. Find that kid and go devote that time. So we have a lot of teachers going to ball games, trying to cheer for them, waiting for them afterwards, giving them high fives. So it's really, I think, making a big difference. We feel like it's helping with some of our perfect attendance issues or attendance issues that we had that were incidental kids. We still have some big ones that were either COVID or sick, and then we have those ones that we are doing everything we can to reach them. School's not important to them, it's not important to mom and dad, and we've got to find a way to make it important to them. So after we talked about once you get those relationships established, so let's start focusing on the instruction. And one of our areas that we needed to really work on was just writing in general. And so our non-language arts classes, so we're talking science, math, and social studies, have implemented and been using a strategy. It's called the CER writing strategies. It's called claim, evidence, and reasoning. And what that strategy is that, I'll give an example of social studies. So one lesson that was in, based on the presidents that they were already learning about, they had to determine, first identify what was this president achievements and how have they done, and this versus this one. Now you need to sit there and balance and kind of evaluate which one made the bigger impact on the U.S. history, because they both were presidents. So which one do you think that you made the bigger impact? So students had to really think about the knowledge that they know, so they had to make their claim. Then they had to back it up with evidence, and then they'd explain the reasoning. And it really has honestly deepened our kids' higher order thinking and their analytical thinking. And we first implemented it somewhat mid-year last year, and I will tell you our social studies scores for our U.S. History STAR test really went, 17 points? So I really think that we're seeing, and then science has taken onto it in terms of some science concepts, and now math is. Which strategy works better in terms of getting to the answers that we need? It's really challenging kids to think, and the language arts teachers are seeing the good reciprocal evidence on their end too. So along with that, we have been implementing PLCs and unit planning. That work was done long before I came along. Ms. Venable established that, got those balls rolling, and then unit planning, our teachers really have refined our unit planning. And so we know exactly what we need to teach, exactly what the kids must have in order to be successful. So now we've focused on the Tier 2 instruction, our intervention. So other people call it win time, other people call it flex time, we call it prime time. And what we do is on Mondays, we give the teachers their Monday prime time, and all they do is they make lesson plans for targeted instruction. That's it. In the meantime, Mr. Herblin and myself he takes all the boys, I take all the girls, and we have actually meetings. I meet with all the girls and he meets with all the boys, and we address during that time campus issues. I've pulled out, that, hey, what's going on with the cell phones coming out a lot more, let's get them away. We've addressed upcoming dress-up days, questions, a lot of dress code questions, why can't we wear, those are some of the favorite ones for the girls. But we address those issues and we start nipping some issues in the bud so that they can't grow into bigger issues. We also start talking into that social emotional learning. We have a lot of issues going on with kids these days. That isolation for the last year and a half with COVID, It's not good developmentally for kids this age, not good at all. They're social beings and they needed to interact, and what did? We isolated them. So we have a lot of social emotional issues that we also address. While we're doing that, like I said, the teachers are planning their targeted intervention, and we're already seeing some good gains with our student learning. I mean, it's down to, Mr. Alderson, you take those 4 science kids, even though you don't know them, and you take those 4, and you take those 4, and we're all the science teachers, and we're going to target these kids. I mean, it's really coming together. They're all our students, and we're having a lot of success with that. And then the other thing that we've done is our counselor is going into classrooms. She's going into primarily our Lead Worthy right now, but she'll be integrating it into also our health classes, and she's focusing on some more social emotional learning lessons and trying to reach more kids too. She's going into roughly 2 classes a week to try to reach as many kids as she can. And she'll be in that class all day long. So, she gives up essentially an entire day of just teaching. And so we feel like that helps. We still have a lot of issues that are going on with our kids, learning things that took place while our kids were away and not in school every day, things that our kids experienced and that were honestly just truly horrific to discuss about. Well, the only people that can really help them is the resources we have here. So we bring in Krista Hitt, Joyce Cole. We're getting in the counselors and we're doing everything we can to help them be okay moving forward. So those are our big targets. So, any questions? Okay.
Hi, y'all. High school is not unique. We have the same issues from the kids down here, the ones that are up here. Put that in perspective, one of our students was at the doctor's office the other day, and she was overheard saying, they actually expect us to come to school and be to class on time. And so, those are some of the statements that we're trying to address and get back to some routines and some systems. 2 of the major focal points on the high school campus this year, one being academics, as Mr. Webb highlighted, Algebra 1, English 1, and English 2. We're really putting a lot of energy on those 3 courses. We've started a writer's workshop with our English teams. They're very motivated about that, and it goes back to the creation, that the kids are able to talk about something they're interested in, they're producing something, it's written on, and they can see that evolution of what they're doing and how much they've grown. It helps with motivation. Something else we're doing with Algebra 1 is we're doing more hands-on projects, hands-on learning. We've really been blessed. Mrs. Jennifer Penny is on our Algebra 1 team this year. And, we started on-ramps, and they had a program that you could kind of throw your name in the hat, and if you were selected, you got to be in an Algebra 1 fellowship. It's not an on-ramps course. It was just looking at some teaching approaches and techniques that they thought would grow our Algebra 1 students here in Texas. Well, we threw her name in the hat and she got selected. So about once a month, she is being able to Zoom in and, getting taught all around the state from different approaches and project-based learning to try to engage the students and get them into the Algebra 1 formulas and things like that. The other big focal point for the high school campus is social emotional learning, okay? And so we started addressing that daily, and we talk about bullying or like stress with tests, things like that, but we also talk about character, dedication, leadership for our young men and women at the high school, and we're trying to also, like Susie said, we're plugging them into the community in our classrooms and at the school. We want them to feel like they have a place, that they're tied with relationships and a bond. But we also want them to practice service. And so, for example, one of the things we're doing is for Christmas, we are doing a competition on the high school campus. The kids are making shoe boxes, care packages, and we're going to be sharing those with our local nursing homes in December. And it's one of those things that they are spearheading, they're organizing, they're tracking, but then they're also serving the community and giving back. And so those are the 2 main areas that we're focused on, the academic and the social. So any questions?
I
Yes,
just
sir.
wanted to say thank you for the excellent job you've done on the cell phone issue.
It has been pretty easy, for as difficult as it was hyped up to say, and the teachers have been overwhelmingly supportive. And, you know, some of our top teachers have come up and they've said, I had no idea how much this would impact not only behavior in the classroom, but the learning, because the kids are focused. And socially, they're now engaged with looking at the people they're talking to. They are talking and visiting with their peers, and it's been a very positive thing.
I know it was expected to be quite a fight, and it seems like it's gone much easier than anticipated, and I give you part of the credit because you took the lead in that thing. So,
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Marie.
Well, as you can see, we have a lot going on, K through 12, or pre-K through 12, and everyone works extremely hard, and that's an overview of what we have going on, and so it's my recommendation for you to approve the district and campus plans submitted for the 2021-2022 school year.
Okay. We have a recommendation to approve the district and campus plan submitted for this year and beginning of next year. We have a motion. Ms. Maxwell, second. Mr. Ferguson, any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Recommendation passes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, Edgenuity for, let's see, House Bill 4545.
Now we get to
Pam Williams.
talk about our state legislation. So coming out of their session this summer, there were many House bills and many Senate bills that came out. And one of those was House Bill 4545. And this one has impacted districts quite a bit. It has required that there is intervention for all students who do not meet standard on their STAR or their EOCs. And it's not just for our special populations, it's for all students, general education too. And so, in part of this bill, it means that we as a district have to give tutoring for the standards that they've missed, but it has to be given by highly qualified personnel. And they've set the ratio of 3 to 1. It's very difficult to maneuver as districts. So they have put in place, you can do a waiver if it is approved by the parents. And so we have sent out that piece. And so they can approve groups of 6 to 1. So when we look at our students who have not met standard in that area, it's kind of daunting as a district to look at and how do we maneuver that. So Mr. Webb and myself, we've been doing some research on it, and currently we use Edgenuity in the secondary setting for credit recovery. And we're finding that they are adapting, their program that you can do virtual tutoring through their through the products that they have, which gives a certified teacher, which only requires that we have a facilitator in the room. So in the secondary setting, we could meet the standards because you have to cover 30 hours per subject for these students. And looking at 3 through 8, they have a product called My Pathway. And it is given on grade level, but as they start maneuvering the product as they go through, it is all TEKS based. It automatically changes the setting for them, so if they need to go lower, it lowers where they're at. But it also hits for our enrichment too. It'll take you to a higher level, so push you on the standards that you need. So it kind of covers the gamut. This product would also be good for our special programs in our RTI, in our special education settings, where they're just needing more to be able to reach and fill in the gaps. Because, I mean, as everybody has said tonight, we have so many gaps to fill. So this product is, so I'm asking for money tonight. For high school and junior high, that would be unlimited licenses. So it'd be $29,922.54. For elementary and intermediate, so this would cover all the way, kindergarten through 12th grade, everybody would have access to it.
or first grade through 12th grade. Elementary and intermediate, their full licenses would be $26,990. So the total is $56,912.54. So that is my recommendation tonight for this to help our district reach our kids to fill some gaps. Do you have questions on that?
This is typical of legislation where they have good intentions, but they're blind to the practical side of it, where are these people going to come from to where we get a ratio down to 1 adult to 3 kids, or 1 to 6 even. We have hardly sub-pool because people are afraid to work. There's an extreme staffing shortage across the state and the nation, and so it forces us into predicaments where you have to get additional help. And so at least with this, at least it's funded. So many of their mandates are often unfunded.
Okay. We have a recommendation that the board approve the purchase of Edgenuity and My Pathway for our Gatesville ISD campuses. Is that correct? Okay, we have a motion. Mr. Ferguson, second. Ms. Maxwell, any further discussion?
When would they use it?
So every campus has built-in intervention time. It can be built into the intervention times for, like, high school's already doing that since they have Edgenuity on their campus, unlimited license. So
They could use it on their Chromebook?
Yes, they have access on their Chromebooks. And it will be used in, it can be used in any of your resource classrooms, any of your self-contained classrooms, behavior units, and through any of the students with that you're doing tiered intervention with, you can use that product as
So
well.
like during wind time, they could do it
Yes,
during.
sir. And it can happen before or after school as well. You just can't use any of their core time. That was one of the items in the House bill was you couldn't take away from any of their fine art electives or their core subjects for intervention. You had to find a time outside of that window, which is difficult. I mean, think about how busy our students and teachers are.
They always make it so difficult.
Miss Penrod, is that something Miss Haynes could probably take care of in her lab?
Yeah. Excuse me, I got a vent in my mouth.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It was just stuck at the top of the roof. So. I apologize. Yeah, she could do that, use that. But honestly, the way our prime time is set up right now, we have multiple options to serve those students in that way. So it would be very helpful.
Okay, any additional discussion? Okay, let's see, we've had the motion and a second, so discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, the recommendation is passed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, we have an update on the WINGS program at the high school. This is Mr. Floyd, AP Administrator, and Joyce Cole.
First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to start this program. It's amazing. These students are working so hard. They're in competition with each other to see who can graduate next. They've already asked for cords that they can distinguish themselves among other graduates. I don't want to take anything from Mr. Floyd here, but we have already had 3 graduate. When the first one, the first 2 were on the same day, one just had to get her IGC in, and you should see she was like, no, you know, because they had been vying to who was going to be first. But we've been so successful that I get phone calls every week. Dropouts call it, their parents call it. Can you tell us about this WINGS program? Well, you have to be enrolled. Oh, okay, can I come up and enroll my student? And then we talk about it. Once they're enrolled, then we'll talk about it. And so we have a waiting list.
We are just excited that we're provided this opportunity, and the kids are excited and they're working so hard. One of the things that, as a high school counselor for 20 plus years, the graduation requirements and the credits needed is something that I always work with. And when I came here, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. When I came here, one of the things that I discovered was that Gatesville ISD requires 2 extra credits over the state recommendation. And that is speech, a half a credit speech and a half a credit of health. I have water. Oh, thank you. And a half a credit of health. Also, the recommended program does not, you only have to have 3 social studies, and we require 4. So world history, world geography, it can be either or. This is for the foundation program only, just the bottom level. The state recommendation program is 22 credits. So I got to look at this, and this truly impacts the kids that I'm working with today, because they are spending about, well, a half a credit is 40 hours, a full credit's 80. So they're doing 160 hours, which is 40 days extra that the state doesn't require. And so in looking at this, I decided that we needed, instead of having them do things that we don't need, that's not necessary for our graduation, to go beyond. What's next for these kids? What's the next step? Well, the next step is talking about college, talking about career, talking about opportunities. So when I started thinking about this, I thought, in lieu of, if I asked to take those 2 credits, and we could use those 2 credits either as elective credits, or maybe they wouldn't even have to do that 40 hours, which they could concentrate then math, the core subjects and what they're needed. In lieu of those 2 credits, what I would recommend, and which I already have started doing with my seniors and my kids that are close, is that making sure that all of them take the TSI for college entrance. Once they take the TSI, then they must do the FAFSA, fill out the FAFSA, which is a requirement that all students have to do. And so they to require them to do the FAFSA and get that experience, and then to apply to at least 2 colleges, 2-year colleges. Oh, thank you so much. And then on top of that, we also have our Tarleton mentoring program, where we, outside the box thinking, our Tarleton mentors couldn't come here. So about every 6 weeks, we have plans to take our kids to MCC with the Tarleton psychology students, and they mentor them for 3 or 4 hours on the college campuses. And this is something I started year before last, but of course COVID hit and we only got to make 1 trip. So we have a trip coming up in 2 weeks. And for these kids to see a college campus, for these kids to talk to college students, for these kids to have a desire to do more than just get their high school diploma. They didn't think they'd get a high school diploma, truthfully. They thought they were done. They knew that a GED was too far away, and they were just ready to drop out and go do something else. Well, now we've got these high school graduates that need more. So if we can, in lieu of those 2 credits, which doesn't align with the state recommendation, that we take those and we go forward with them, that we do more with them, that we go to the post-high school, which is college or career or some other place where they can change the trajectory of their lives and their environment. And so that's my recommendation, is that we help these kids move forward instead of holding them back. This is a barrier, in my estimation. It is a barrier for our kids. It adds about 40 more days to them if they need all 3. If they don't, it adds, if they don't, then we can use them as electives and then move forward. But that's my recommendation, that we let just the wing students on minimum graduation graduate with 22 credits, and then with the understanding that if they don't have to do those requirements of the district, that we have this post-high school piece here that's going to move them forward and give them an opportunity to see what the next step is. And I have a board over there that says next step, because I want them to start thinking, what is it? Just because you're getting your high school diploma, there's more. We're going that next step. We're going that next step. And so that's my hope and my desire for these kids, is not necessarily just Gatesville High School, but the next step. So I'm asking that we move them forward in their future by helping them with this, with these 2 credits, and I think it's going to make a big difference. And it's also going to bring in extra seat. Our kids are going to graduate a little faster, so we have some more seat time. We can bring the kids in quicker and get more graduates in. So that's my recommendation. Would you like to talk a little bit about what we've done out there? Did I say that?
But no, we've had 3 graduates so far. We probably are going to have 3 more in the next couple of weeks. Actually, one young lady's going to finish up tomorrow. She's working extremely hard. And there's been a lot of positives. I know it's late at night. I don't want to go into a bunch of too many details, but the kids that we have out there right now, this is probably for them. It's a great educational setting. We have some kids that have been chronic attendance issues, discipline issues, and they are thriving in that environment. So it's been a very positive thing. I appreciate the board for adopting that. It's a big thing for this community and the school district.
It's exciting. So.
It's always a great thing to put a diploma in a student's hand.
Absolutely.
I think this is probably one of the best programs Gatesville ever came up with. I think you guys do an excellent job.
Thank you.
And so I appreciate it. I love it. So.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a recommendation to replace 2 local credits with, I guess, college-orientated
Yes.
exposure.
I want to make it a motion.
Okay, Mr. Ferguson and Mr. Ford seconds. We have any?
I'd like to know when your graduation date is.
I believe that we're working on something around the end of November, maybe.
We'll be sure to invite you.
We'd love for all of you to come. Yeah, they're excited. They're already talking about it. So,
this isn't just a diploma, it's a vision and hope. You've
That's
given them
exactly
hope and you've given them vision.
Thank you.
Well done.
Very good. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Thank y'all so much. I
Okay.
appreciate y'all.
Recommendation is passed. Okay. Memorandum of Understanding with CTC regarding adult education. Dr. Pollard.
This is short and sweet. We sign these typically every year. It's just reiterating our ongoing partnership with CTC, and they offer a lot of things in addition to dual credit courses. ESL, adult education, GED type things. We're continuing to push and prod them to get GED going again. That's another thing that COVID kind of destroyed, because a lot of those instructors are folks that decided it just wasn't worth the risk, and so we're trying to get that going again, because there's a lot of folks that once they've gotten away from the high school setting and they didn't graduate, they need another alternative route to hopefully get a GED. So my recommendation is that we approve the MOU with CTC. They've been a good partner for many years, so we can offer these programs to the community.
Okay. We have a recommendation that we approve CTC. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Who made the?
Yeah, we need a motion in a second.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thought it was already done.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Ms. Maxwell is going to make the motion. We have a second. Mr. Ford? Now is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, motion passes. Okay, I think we're down.
Last one.
Last one. Board meeting date to conduct official local canvass of returns for elections.
So as usual, a date needs to be determined to conduct the official local canvass. So the earliest date for official canvassing of returns by the school board is Friday, November 5th. The last day is Monday, November 15th. And so typically what we do is 2 board members in this situation constitute a quorum, just 2. And so what we've been doing is under the Open Meetings Act, we have a meeting a little bit earlier that night at 5:15 for those 2 folks to do it. And so you can't conduct any other business during that 5:15 meeting other than canvassing the results. But I'll recommend that we have a special meeting to conduct the local official canvass of returns on Monday, November 15th at 5:15 prior to the regular board meeting. So all they need is about 15 minutes to do it, and then we'll start the regular one. And that's how we've done it for years and years and years.
Okay. We have a motion to meet on November 15th at 5:15 to canvass the returns of the election. Ms. Kaiser made the motion. Got it finally. Let's have a second. Mr. Ferguson, discussion? All those in favor? Okay. We'll have an early meeting on November 15th. Okay, at this time, we need to take a break, go into executive session. We're going to close open session at 7:20. Take about a 10-minute break. We meet in Dr. Pollard's office at 7:30.